and welcome to another video from oorail. In this video we're going to show you how to weather a Lima Class 26. This is a Class 26 that we basically got off of eBay for about, I think it was like about £12. It wasn't very expensive. There was some minor cosmetic damage. The front end here was missing the coupling. The actual coupling was cut from the bogie, and the snow plows were broken. There are some minor scraping and scratches just from use, but all in all the model ran actually pretty well for considering how old it was and the kind of abuse that it seemed to have stood up to. So what we did was, like with a lot of Lima models, they can look a bit plasticky. The Class 26 one actually isn't too bad. There's a good bit of detail on it. It runs pretty well, and it doesn't take a whole lot to improve it. So the first thing that we did was we wanted to add some minor paint details. So you can see here on the front, what we did was we ran some black paint around the edges of the windows to create the window seals. On the front here, the two windows on the outside and the smaller window on the inside for the windshield. These windscreen in the front typically had a black seal around the edge of the windows, so we painted that in there. And now I painted a little bit more predominantly than I would normally do, mainly because we're going to weather this pretty heavily, and so we want the black to still stand out. Here we have the Class 26 from Lima, and we're going to go paint the outer edges there. I'm using a small applicator. So there you have the paint on there. Next we're going to paint the roof panel up here. This one here. Then we'll weather it up. We did the same thing on the back end of the Loco. The other thing that we did was, you can see here, this particular roof panel is not normally this kind of aluminum silver color. On the Lima model it was actually just blue. And what we did was we took a paint pen and basically just ran the silver paint pen back and forth around the edges and back and forth across the middle until we got this smooth kind of finish to the top. Now this actually looks like it's been done as part of the model itself, but it's actually done with a paint pen. The paint pen was very good with maintaining the flow of the paint, so it was very easy, and the little notches here for the bolts along the outside of the panel, they actually help contain the paint within the panel, so that was pretty useful. So what we're going to do is we're going to use our two typical weathering powders. Here we have a medium earth weathering powder and a grimy black weathering powder, and what we're going to do is we're going to apply the medium earth to the side here, probably from about just the windows and below, and then along the bogies and the undercarriage here, and we'll do that on both sides. Then we'll also apply it to the front, and then we'll use the grimy black on the snowplow and areas along the roof, including the part that we just made look shiny here with the silver, as well as these exhaust vents right here and these vents along the side. So we're going to go and start that, and then we'll show in the video the progress that we make as we go along. Okay, so the first step is to take kind of one of these baby wipes, and basically to mark in where we want to put the grime for the weathering. So with this, we're going to do it along the side here, and so we just do the usual up and down like so. This panel here will be pretty grimy, and then likewise we'll run a little bit down there, and then on the bogies itself. And then we'll also do this part right here. So we're just doing the one side for now. So we'll put that on its side, and then we'll gonna use the medium earth tones. Very carefully open these up. And you'll note that I am doing this on a sheet of paper to avoid any problems with the getting this on the table. So it's taking a brush and then starting at the top here, and we're just going to brush this in like so. Now, one thing to remember with the weathering powders is not to use too much, but you also have to remember that when you spray these, you will lose about a third to half of the weathering powder that you have applied. So you do need to keep that in mind. So if you want to heavily weather something, you may find out that later on it's not as heavily weathered as you would have liked. And again, you can see here the technique I'm using is to apply the weathering powders to the bogies and lower section first, and then just to apply a lighter section here to the body. If you make a mistake, the nice thing with weathering powders is that you can start again simply by taking a damp cloth and wiping it down before you seal it in. Remember, with the earth tones, what you're trying to do is basically just create that kind of impression of dirt. And what I'm doing here by getting it up into the yellow section is we're trying to basically get away from this plastic look that the Lima has because of the heavy plastic. Or it's very easy to overdo this, so you want to make sure that you don't do that. Remember, the locomotive is going to be in motion as well, so the splatter will be in whatever direction you feel that the locomotive would have been running in. And so you can see there it's got the kind of weathered look to it now. So the next thing we're going to do is take the black weathering powders and apply those to the upper part here as well as to here. So we'll set those aside. I have a separate brush for the black weathering powder. So again, you want to dip very lightly in here, and you want to go basically from one end and just lightly brush those on there. You will get some splatter down the side. Don't worry about that, it'll come off. What we're looking for here is just to dull down the original paint here. And this usually works pretty well, just to run that back and forth. And you can tap it there and you can see you'll get some natural kind of runoff from the black grime as well. And then the other area where you'll have some black grime here is on this panel. So we're going to basically fill that in like so, and then naturally fall off. Okay. So you can see there, that is how that is looking. We've got it pretty well weathered up on that end. So now we're going to tackle the roof. And so with the roof, again we're going to use the black grime. And after looking at some Class 26 photos, we knew that there are two areas in particular that get a fair amount of dirt. And one of them is right here. So we're going to kind of blast that area there with some of the dirt, like so, and then also this area here gets pretty blackened. So we'll remember we did paint this silver, and it shouldn't really look silver, so I'm going to run the weathering powders back and forth here, try to get them to adhere. Like so. So the roof now is starting to look more like what you'd expect. We're trying to get rid of this plastic sheen. And so we're just going to kind of rub it back and forth. And one thing you might notice is I'm only doing this on half the roof, and the reason for that is I'm going to do the other half of the roof when I weather the other side. And I also didn't use the wipe on the top because I wanted to not necessarily get it to adhere to specific locations, but to get it to kind of generally adhere to the roof, just to give it that kind of darkened kind of look. And we've successfully achieved that now with the weathering powders. You can see there we've got slightly darker adhesion. And we've grayed that down. Alright, so now that we've got one side of this done, pretty much, we're going to blow it in the direction that the Loco would have been running. Those streaks in place. Alright, so you can see now the difference between the two. See, we still have the shiny top, and then this is the part that we've weathered. Okay, so we're going to turn it around and then we're going to weather the front. Now, since I have the black weathering powders in hand here, I'm going to go ahead and weather the these snoot plows, like so. And not to waste the weathering powder, we have kind of a mix here of the brown and the black, so we're going to just use that to dull the lower part here. Like so. So next we're going to go back to the earth tones, and so we're going to take the medium earth and we're going to just dip it in very lightly and then kind of run it from the bottom up. So I'm just going to run it from side to side like this. We don't want to make the front of it too dirty, but if you look at some of the Class 26 pictures, you will see that the front end here does get kind of spotty in places. So then what we're going to do is just along the top here, we're going to dull this down with the earth tones. Okay, so we're now going to go and the other side of the Loco, and we'll show you the end result. Okay, and here you have it. We have completed the weathering here on the Class 26. You can see we've done some heavy weathering here, dulled down the silver on the roof, but you can still make out it's a different color. Some heavy weathering around the exhaust, and the roof has been completely dulled down. It's no longer that shiny blue color. We've weathered the windshields here. The side of the Loco is pretty heavily weathered as well. If I tilt that up into the light, you can see it a bit better. And remember that some of this now will come off when I spray it. In fact, a good portion of it will come off when I spray it. And so you can see there, the other side as well is complete. And there you have it. So I'll go and spray this up, and you'll hopefully see it on the layout in the near future. But for now, that's all we'll have in this video. Hope you found it useful.